Hey, Michael Preston Joseph. It's August 25th, 2026, Tuesday. It's approximately 5:35 p.m. I just wanted to talk about a revelation I had today in the church today. St. Boniface Church is where I usually just kind of relax and just chill out a little bit before breakfast, sometimes before lunch too, and sometimes a little bit after lunch, and before I come here to the library, which is where I'm at. I don't know if you can see that. That's the town city hall. I think that's the city hall. Over this way, that's where Union Plaza is, as in the United Nations Plaza. Excuse me, as in where Starfleet Academy and Star Trek headquarters is supposedly somewhere around here, like in the future, right? But I don't see that happening till human beings become awakened people. Here's the revelation I had. So I'm going to read Revelations 13:10 in the NIV Bible. If anyone, this is the New International Version. If anyone is to go into captivity, this is Revelations 13:10. Sorry. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. So um, I think it's very difficult to understand what that verse, those words mean, if you do not know Jesus' teachings, because most people are going to be inclined to believe most self-professed Christians are going to be inclined to take these literally, being um, thrust into captivity or prison, being physically and being killed by physically being killed by a sword. Like if you use a sword, you mean well. And there is the different verse I think in a different gospel, but this is Revelations, by the way. So what does this verse actually mean? Well, what occurred to me in the church today is like, wait a second, Jesus is all about mental strength, spiritual awakening, strengthening your mind. Love God with all your heart, all your mind. If you recall from my previous video on the expression of Jesus, Kingdom of Heaven Within, I'll try to make a playlist and add this video to that playlist and both of them to that same playlist. But we're talking about mental slavery. We're talking like Bob Marley talks about. We're talking about spiritual death. That's what captivity is. It's mental slavery. Um, it is, and spiritual death is the death we're talking about. It is the sword. Uh, so how do you die by the sword? So if we know in other gospels, the olive trees, or actually in Revelations, the olive trees have a sword in their mouth. This is a common theme of an entity or a person having a sword coming from their mouth, and that is philosophy or fierce words or fierce statements, strong words, and strong ideas. And so if you're weak philosophically or in your spirit, in your faith, in your beliefs, then if you don't have a strong man, as is referred to in Matthew 13:11, or excuse me, that's wrong. Matthew 12:29. Jesus, or how can anyone enter a strong man's house and carry off his possession unless he first ties up the strong man? Then he can plunder his house. So if you don't have a strong man, say the strongest man, which would be Jesus, and you can only have that strong man Jesus if you know his teachings. Otherwise, what do you really have? You don't really have anything if you don't actually know his teachings. You just think you do. I'm trying to get this video out really quick, and I'm sorry for um, not having prepared really, except this paper that I have here that I printed out. I don't want to read it, but I posted this on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Michael-Preston-Joseph is my LinkedIn username. Um, but if you don't know the Gospels, you're not going to know that a sword is not just. It doesn't necessarily mean an actual sword. It means your your beliefs, a fierce philosophy, fierce words that can shut down a foe, their beliefs and their ideas, which are proven false. And the real truth, the true word can destroy those beliefs, right? And so if you have anyone who can again be if anyone goes into captivity, if anyone is if they are weak-minded, so to speak, if they don't have a strong spirituality, then they can be mentally enslaved. They can become um, dominated psychologically, and as far as those who anyone if anyone is to be killed with a sword, anyone who can be killed with a sword will be killed with a sword. Can you be killed with a sword? If you can, if you don't have that strong faith, you will be killed by the sword eventually. It's just a matter of time. That stuff will wear you down and beat you down. I talk about here on this paper so this is one thing I want to talk about regarding the parables. Why does Jesus speak in parables? This verse is basically it's kind of like a parable. And Jesus says, because the knowledge, when asked by his disciples, he says, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not them. Whoever has will be given more, which is to say they'll be given more revelations and more understanding, greater understanding, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them, which is to say what little understandings they have of their faith, of the Christian teachings, of Jesus' teachings, will be taken away from them. That understanding will become diminished, which is what I think we see in a lot of people who are self-professed Christians. They don't actually fully understand Jesus' teachings at all. They don't even know how Jesus comes to fulfill the law. He comes to fulfill the law and not change any single letter of it. He comes to fulfill it by helping us become spiritually awake, because we are incapable of following the law if we are not awake, if we are not spiritually awake being. We live in a world where we literally have people saying they want us to be asleep. Elon Musk wants people to be asleep. Of course, he's going to say, oh, well, I'm just talking about DEI. I'm just talking about these social issues, but not the greater mental virus that he plants is to keep us asleep from everything. They want ChatGPT thinking for us. They want computers to do all our thinking, and we're going to be some stupid people, and we're not going to be able to love God with all our heart and all our mind. And so if you don't know Jesus' teaching, that verse is in there. Love, Jesus says the most important commandments are, well, or when he's asked what the most important commandments are, love God with all your heart and all your mind, and love each other as, love your neighbor as yourself. As yourself. How can you love God with all your mind when you got ChatGPT thinking for you? When your mind is going to be Swiss cheese because it's going to be bombarded with energies that are negative. Uh, let somebody who's wise know exactly what I'm talking about, by the way. So Jesus actually has that. He says that from time to time, or this will require wisdom, right? When they talk about, for example, the mark of the beast, what does the mark of the beast mean? This requires wisdom. It's the mark of a man, 666, right? Which some people take to mean like 6 electrons, 6 protons, and neutrons, and that it refers to the I think carbon-based life. I think that's what some people think it refers to. But in any case, I highly recommend. I'll try to put this in the description below. Please read the description below. I'll put links to the how Sigmund Freud and Ayn Rand, those types, are horrible, horrible, horrible people who've created horrible messaging and have infected our psyche. There's a great a documentary called "The Century of Self." It's on YouTube by Adam Curtis. Century of Self is really long. It's nearly 4 hours, the whole thing, but it talks about how Sigmund Freud so-called work is the basis of everything from advertising to how political campaigns are run. Like when Reagan ran, it was a big, um, um, it was all about marketing him, and they marketed the heck out of Reagan. He became like a landslide victory because he was one of the first presidents who was really marketed to be this fatherly figure, this wise man who's going to um, uh, lead us into prosperity. And so, anyways, this is not the best video. I'm not being. I'm a little kind of not really prepared for this but I wanted to get this video out today and not wait because I had this revelation today in the church at about 11:40 a.m., which is about 6 hours ago, because it's about 5:40 now, I think. So about 6 hours ago. Freud's superego, his whole ego thing, it's a corrupted ripoff and not even close to what Jesus talks about as far as your spirituality in the kingdom of heaven. His Sigmund Freud's aim is to actually take away that spirituality and say, oh no, we're just a bunch of personalities inside. There's no spirituality, and if you're a materialist, you can use my work to help market your products to people, create fictitious senses of need and want and desire in a person to buy your products that they don't actually need at all, or in some cases are going to be bad for society and bad for the world. But who cares, right? Caveat emptor, buyer beware. We live in a world where lying is okay, where deceiving is okay, and it's up to you to be aware that you're being lied to. And don't, and it's a caveat emptor, buyer beware. It doesn't say, no, seller should beware. If you try to sell garbage, if you try to sell bad things, bad products, harmful products, um, especially products that are going to influence people's minds, like, like, I talk about the same uh, marketing, the same programming on television that's going to inflate the ego of a white person and make them think they're the best person in the world because they see it on TV. They see themselves in all the key positions, top positions, and then they see black people in bottom positions, in as anywhere from homeless, drug dealers, pimps, thieves, and that sort of thing. Even though white collar crime costs $1 trillion a year, and it does not even get. They fire the IRS agents if you're Trump. He fires them all, and there's no prosecution of white collar criminals. That costs $1 trillion to the U.S. economy every year. But in any case, but that same media that lifts up the inflates incorrectly, inaccurately, and dangerously the ego of white people is the same media that deflates the ego and sense of self-esteem of a black person. And no one even talks about that in the media. That dynamic exists. There's a wonderful author. He passed. His name is Dr. Juwanza Kanjufu. He's got a video on YouTube, a presentation he gave in 1987, a VHS taped, recorded presentation on his book. It's on YouTube, called "Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys." Is worth watching, I think. Definitely, I think. He only sold 1 million copies of that book. Let's see if we posthumously get him up to 50 million. I think that's all I want to talk about, really. I implore you, do not become a slave to physical threats, because a real Christian is not going to be a slave to physical threats, violence, money, power, cruelty, sadism, and you're not going to spiritually die by materialism, capitalism, superficiality, bigotry, racism, and xenophobia, megalomania, celebrities, influencer worship, etc. Um, so when one of the agents is like, why isn't this stuff working on Morpheus? This serum they gave him, and it's because Morpheus has a strong man at home. That's why. Michael Preston Joseph. I'm here in San Francisco at the San Francisco Public Library on August 25th, 2026, on a Tuesday. Bye.